who can help you live longer, live better, and hopefully enjoy your life. We have Dr. V. Mohan, who is a leading diabetologist. He's written a book that we'd like to show you again on stage, and then welcome Dr. Mohan. Deepak, let's show the cover of the book again. Deepak, let's show the cover of the book again. Yes. The book is called Making Excellence a Habit, the secret to building a world-class healthcare system in India. So really, we're doing this 22 days after the budget. If healthcare sees more investments, India will be a better nation. Today, we're talking of how many people have been vaccinated. You know, as vaccination takes away the fear of going to work, the productivity will improve. So clearly, being a healthy society is important from a being standpoint and from an achieving standpoint. So let me welcome the author of this book, Dr. V. Mohan. Dr. Mohan, welcome to you. First of all, let me start by asking you, how have been the last 11 months for you, both personally and professionally?
Thank you, Dr. Annurag. I have been mostly at home, working from home, and the reason for that is I've already crossed 65. So I was told that you can work from home. So actually, this is my library at home, and this is where I work. So I see my patients either virtually, either doing telemedicine, or video conferences, or something like that. So it's a new experience for me. And luckily, on March 25th of 2020, the government also legalized telemedicine. So it became all very easy. We have to evolve our whole methods. And in my specialty, diabetes, if we have all the results of the patients, and then we have a good history, it's possible to treat. It's not like a surgeon who has to actually operate and so on. So I managed to do this. And part of the time I also spent in getting my book ready and also getting into social media. I wasn't into social media at all. And so I took some active steps in all the social media, being Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, YouTube, you name it, everything. I've been there, Twitter and so on. And so it's been a good time. And I also did a lot of research writing. As you know, 50% of my time I do research. So in the last 1 year, we published a record number of 86 research papers. I think it's almost a record. And all that is possible because I had a lot of time on my hands. Of course, there's no travel. I used to travel a lot, and all that actually came down. So in a way, I've had a very productive 11 months. The patients started coming back to the hospital after the first 2 months. And so my team started going in. A little bit of administration and stuff to do, which again, I can do from home. A lot of motivational talks, basically to keep people, giving hope to people, because people are giving up. In the initial days, I remember a lot of people committing suicides and so on. So it's to prevent all that, because in diabetes, you get depressed, your sugars will go up and your blood pressure will go up. So that had been my main job. So it was good, but of course, nothing like face-to-face interactions.
Thank you, Dr. Mohan, to adding to the knowledge quotient, because really, with your expertise and experience and observations, the field can benefit and everyone in the field can benefit. Now, let me come to the book for which we are meeting. First of all, what is your commentary on the quality of life healthcare system we have in India? What can be improved about it? And then we'll come to what is your suggestions in the book and the content in the book. So where do you think where we are and how we can improve?
So as you know, the healthcare system in India is broadly divided into public healthcare, which is government, and private. Now, there are countries where 100% of the healthcare is government, which means that the entire, take small countries, take Dubai, take Abu Dhabi, and so on. Very little private there. Singapore, almost everything is provided. Canada, UK, almost everything is government. And of course, the private is here and there, a little patch here and there. But in many developing countries, India included, it's the exact opposite. So about 75 to 80% of all healthcare is private. And if you take urban areas, you take cities, it's more than that. It's probably 90%. In rural areas, of course, the government has a much better reach. Now, what happens is that when the healthcare is private, completely private, and I belong to private sector, so I can boldly speak about that. It means that for everything, people have to pay out of pocket, whether it's for the consultation, for the tests, for medicines, for surgery, for everything. And for chronic conditions, even insurance does not pay. Even people who have any of the insurances, medical insurance they've taken, only if they have a heart attack or they have a stroke or they have a accident or something like that, emergency situation, only those are covered. For chronic care, treatment of diabetes or hypertension, all these things are not covered by insurance. So it means that it digs a big hole in the pocket of people. And this necessarily means a lot of people drop out from the healthcare. They don't come. And then when they go to the government, of course, many of the government systems are very good. For example, I come from a state, Tamil Nadu, where the healthcare is very good. I know that Kerala, Goa, there are examples, Sikkim, where the healthcare is very good. But you can't say the same for the whole country. And therefore, people are scared to go to the government because they feel that government center, because they feel they may not get the best of care. So that has to improve. And I think thanks to, you just mentioned the budget, I think in the budget for the first time, an increase in the GDP allotment for healthcare has taken place. But I feel it's not enough. A small percentage has actually gone up. But if you compare with what other governments are spending on healthcare, it is still very, very low. Now, as the government healthcare improves more and more, a lot of people will start using it. I used to have a very rough index. I used to say that in the most developed countries, people use public transport, whereas in the poorer countries, people use private transport. So if you go to London or even a millionaire, the prime minister, whoever, they all go by the tube. That's the commonest form of transport. Whereas in India, everybody wants still the car, and they don't believe in or they can't wait in the public system. So as the country improves, its healthcare will improve, so that even a rich person wouldn't mind going to a good government hospital and taking the treatment. Similarly, they won't mind using the public transport system and so on. I think small beginnings are being made, but we still have a long way to go. The other way to do, of course, is in some places like Abu Dhabi and so on. Insurance covers everything. I've worked for a year in Muscat. There also insurance covers a lot. So they even pay for your routine checkup, for your coming to the doctor, the consultation fee, your medicines, tests, everything is covered for a package. They give you up to a year, so much you can spend if you take your insurance. So that way they don't have to pay out of pocket. I think that also can definitely come in India, because in the long run, if you think about it, diseases like diabetes, hypertension, if they encourage people to go for the checkup and keep it under control, they won't develop the complications. So they don't have to pay 3 lakhs for a bypass or stenting or something like that. Rather, they can pay small amounts for people to be healthier and to prevent these complications. Somebody develops kidney problem. Throughout your life, you're going to pay for dialysis or transplantation. Whereas, if you control your diabetes well, you won't get the kidney problem in the first place. So I think that is where we should be moving.
Fantastic. So you are saying the outlay in the budget has gone up, but it actually needs to be spent. And Dr. Mohan, just to give you a context,
increased also. Every year they keep increasing a little bit.
It has to be spent.
Yeah,
it has to be deployed. And I have no doubt this year it will get deployed. But also the healthcare industry and even your neighborhood GPs suffered a huge loss in the last 11 months. The number of surgeries came down. So it did impact their livelihoods apart from the health of the patients.
Sure.
So clearly the healthcare needs an impetus. We also need to build a culture of looking at the NCDs, the non-communicable diseases, the lifestyle diseases that you talked of, which are increasing in India. Diabetes is one form, hypertension, so on and so forth. Also, what is important is mental well-being. Stress is growing. So how do you deal with stress? So we also need to expand our capabilities, our bench strength, the number of doctors. Now let's go to your book. In your book, you give a, kind of a roadmap, if I may use, for improving the healthcare condition of the country. And you give a formula or let's say a playbook for setting up a perfect healthcare system. Give us a sense of how did the idea of this book came about and what is in the book?
So the book is essentially, it's my autobiography. So for many years now, I would say at least the last 10, 15 years, many of my friends, collaborators, particularly the people who come from US, UK, very senior scientists and so on, when they come, they say, how do you do so many things at the same time? See, a man can do one thing, he can be a good doctor. But you're a doctor, you're a scientist, you're doing research, your publication are more than a full-time scientist, plus you're doing administration, plus you've run institutions, you're running branches of these institutions all over India, you're teaching, you're running academic courses, plus you're doing spiritual work. I'm associated with the Satya Sai Baba organization. I'm one of the central trust members of the Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba. So that part, so there mobile clinics, free clinics, free dispensaries, all kinds of things are done. So they say, how do you, first of all, how do you find time for all this? Number one. Number two, how do you combine all this? Because on one side, you're doing charity. On the other side, you're running a institution, a for-profit institution. And then you're doing research where you're again spending everything. How do you combine all this? And you should write a story, because there are not too many examples of people who have done this. They've done one thing well. They might have built a big corporate, or they might have done a lot of research, or they have done something. But all this in one thing, how did you do it? So I said, okay, if you really focus on something, of course, you can have a grand picture, and then you split it down into different boxes. And each of those boxes, you focus on that. And if you have leaders in each of that, if you bring up your own leaders within the organization, then each of it can run well, and each of them can run with good quality. So that's what the book is all about. But coming back to healthcare, again, as I told you, I am in the private sector. I'm not in the government sector. I never worked in the government, so completely in the private. But having done that, you've done a lot more than what a normal doctor would do. What would a normal doctor do? He'll have a big practice, 100 patients waiting outside, and so on. Early in my career, I realized that the number of people with diabetes is far too high. Right now, we have 77 million people with diabetes in this country. So I worked out the maths, and I said, okay, as a very successful doctor, how many patients can I see in a day? And I said, if I'm going to give quality care to them, I can see probably 20 patients, 30 patients. If I see 40, it's going to be very exhausting for me. And if I do more than that, the quality is definitely going to go down. No doctor can see 40 patients in practice and then more than 40 and then do a good job. So I said, okay, what if I train a large cadre of people and bring them all to see 40 patients each? Then how many can I see? That was a principle. So today we are able to see 1,200 patients in a day. And they all, since they're all trained by me, they all give the same. So instead of seeing the 40 patients, I'm seeing more than 1,000 patients indirectly through them. And then we network the whole system through computer system. So sitting here, I know what my Calcutta branch is doing. I know whether it's doing the right thing or not. I can audit the person completely. I can see whether they're following the prescriptions as it should be written. I can see whether they're achieving the goals. You mentioned depression and mental health. That's another facet that we added on. A lot of people who come with diabetes are depressed. So we added another facet. Why not we screen them for depression and train our diabetes educators and nurses and dietitians to treat that depression? We don't need all the psychiatrists to treat, because mild depression doesn't need a psychiatrist, doesn't need medicines. Just counseling will do. You're going to be fine. We are there for you. Just a little word like that, and 50% depression is gone. So those kind of holistic healing we brought in. We brought in yoga. We brought in dietary treatments. We brought in physical exercise. All these we combined with diabetes. And then we also took it to the rural areas. So we started mobile camps. We started going to rural areas. We adopted many villages. So in Tamil Nadu, in the Kanchipuram district, about 42 villages we adopted. And then to cater, first we did the screening of about 50,000 people. And for them to have follow-up, we built a rural clinic in a charity mode. So those people can keep on going there and don't have to come to Chennai. So all these models we started experimenting in. The whole idea is, how do we take it to the masses? It's not just my practice and I made a lot of money and made that, but how do we reach out to the people? And the Tamil Nadu government has been very supportive. When they saw such a thing, they said, okay, those 40 villages you take care of. I know you're doing a good job. You take care of that. Give us a report every year and tell us what you're doing. Something like what the Arvindaya Hospital does and so on. Very similar. Shankar Netralaya, Arvindaya, we all belong to the same. So we started doing like that. So we started experimenting with different things. And then since we move with people, we know what they want. So from that, what are the lessons that we learned? All that comes in the book. And then I also say, if you have a big plan, don't start with something very big. You may flop and you may flop very badly. Try it in a very small experiment. And then if that works, make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So I call it a snowballing effect. It'll snowball into something bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Anytime you can stop. If you think that's all you can do, you can stop it. But if you try to build a big castle by yourself, the whole castle may collapse in the beginning, because you don't know whether the model is right or not. So that's one of the messages which is very useful for people who are following business world, I would say that whatever you start, have a very grand vision, but start small and then start building, 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 building. Then you'll know whether you're on the right, and then your foundation is very strong. Nobody can shake your foundation because the foundation is very, very deep and very strong, and therefore it will last. It's not something for fly by night, just come for 2 months, 3 months, and then you're gone after 1 year. This is for the next 50 years you're planning what is to be done. So those are the kind of lessons. Of course, there are also life lessons. For example, empathy. Whatever you do, we belong to a profession where empathy is most, not sympathy. Empathy is very important. We empathize with somebody. Somebody tells me I'm in pain. How do I relieve the pain of that particular person? That's my priority. Okay. Similarly, integrity. Whatever they do, the shortcuts always promise. You do this, I'll give you that. You do this, no shortcuts. We are going in the right way. We'll only do the right thing. Ethics, very, very important. I mentioned a story of a man. I'll tell you that story. It'll be interesting to you. Somebody had heard there's something called an insulin pump. It's very expensive. It's about 3 lakhs, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs of rupees. If I sell a pump to someone, I'll get 2 lakhs of rupees. I won't get exactly the pump will, so I'll get my profit on that. Somebody heard about these pumps, and in Malaysia at that time they were not using these pumps. So his friend who had gone from here needed it. So the guy just took a plane and he came. And the first thing he told me was, Dr. Mohan, I've come for the pump. Please put me on a pump. I've come ready to take it. I looked at his history. He's not even on insulin. He's only on tablets. See, pump is for people on insulin. That too, multiple doses of insulin. So I explained to him, no, you don't need the pump, so you don't. He said, no, but for my friend, you gave it. I said, yeah, your friend was on 4 times insulin. That's why I switched him over to pump. You're on tablets and you're very well controlled. No, I insist that you put me on a pump. I said, I don't know how to put you on the pump. When you're on tablets, to give you insulin now, it's not needed. And on top of that, put you on a, it's like using a cannon to kill a mosquito or something, It's not appropriate. And therefore, you cannot do it. He got very angry. He said, I'm telling you, I'll give you the money. I said, it's not the money. It's a wrong treatment to you. And just because you come from Malaysia and you're demanding it, I can't give it to you. Then he said, then I'll walk out. I said, walk out. No problem. But you don't need it. That's why I'll give it in writing that you don't need it, So that is the kind of thing that ethics and integrity and is what it's all about. Very easy for me. Okay, the guy wants some money. I'll also make some money, write one pump and then sell him off. He'll go out to Malaysia. I'm not bothered what he does with the pump later. No, that cannot be there because we are in a profession where it's not a business at all. So those are the kind of stories which I write in my book.
Tell me, if I had to ask you 2 questions. One, since we have the benefit of having you, and I'm sure our readers will benefit from your life lessons and your own story, your own journey. But tell me, from a reversing diabetes standpoint, what are the few things the individual can do?
First thing is you must detect it early, because for diabetes is always a natural history. You can diagnose it very early or later. The later you diagnose, your pancreatic function is going to go down, number one, very badly, and the reversal will become less and less likely. Second is, by that time, you may develop some complications as well. And once your kidney or eye or heart or nerves or feet or something is affected, where's the question of reversal? Keeping you alive itself is a big thing at that particular point. The whole priority then changes. How to save your foot, how to save your eye, how to save your kidney. That becomes a priority, not even to control the diabetes. But if you diagnose it early, then it's possible. Number 2 is, it's usually possible in people who have a little excess weight to lose. So diabetes is usually associated with obesity. So suppose you lose 5 kilograms, 10 kilograms. In fact, I've worked out up to 15 kilograms of weight if you have to lose. They are the people who can reverse diabetes. Suppose you're not overweight and you're a thin diabetic person, very difficult to reverse. What are you going to lose to reverse? There's nothing to lose. What diet are you going to go? You're already so thin. What exercise you're going to do? You're already doing a lot of exercise and you're so thin. So it's the obese people who can reverse. Then there are other situations like you mentioned stress producing diabetes. So stress is a very important cause. And I have some examples of that in my book, how stress came. A lady developed severe diabetes. I couldn't even control her diabetes. And when the stress went away, her diabetes also went away. It's a very interesting story. I talk about how her husband was having an affair with another lady. And that was the cause of her stress, which produced uncontrolled diabetes. And then finally, her diabetes went away and said, now what happened? No, the other lady got transferred somewhere else. And so now my husband lost interest in her. And now my diabetes has come under control. So you may not even connect it as a doctor. You may not even think a situation like that can lead to stress and to produce diabetes, but it can definitely do so. So that is the kind of things that I have written, stories which have actually happened, and how people have reversed their diabetes by controlling stress, by yoga, by pranayama, by exercise, and so on. Then the other way, of course, is through bariatric surgery. Some people are extremely obese, 150 kilos in weight. They lose about 50 kilos after bariatric surgery, and then the diabetes goes away. So there are many instances of reversal of diabetes, but I think it's oversold a little bit now. Everybody says everybody can be reversed from with diabetes. That is not true. I wish it was true, but it's not true. It's only a small percentage of people who can be reversed. So we don't overpromise to anyone and say we'll completely reverse you. My mantra is very different. My mantra is nobody in India should develop a complication of diabetes. They should not go blind. They should not have renal problems, dialysis, transplantation. Their feet should be okay. They shouldn't have a heart attack. Their nerves should be okay. They shouldn't become impotent. These kind of things are more important. That is my whole philosophy, and that's what I'm working for the rest of my life, to see that no Indian will develop any complication of diabetes. If you're able to get that, many of my patients have now crossed 90 years, and even some have crossed even 100 years of age. They're still having diabetes. But so what? They live up to 100 years without any problem. I feel that is better than somebody trying all the time to reverse diabetes and not succeeding. So I don't give false promise to everyone. I'll reverse your diabetes, I'll try. If it's possible, if your diabetes is of that type which can be reversed, yes, we'll do it. If not, live a long and healthy life so that this doesn't affect you at all. As if you didn't have diabetes, you'll go through your whole life. If you're able to achieve that, that's good enough.
Thank you, Dr. Mohan, for having such a noble intention and, more importantly, taking action towards it. I'm sure you'll be able to improve and enhance the lives of lots of people. You've already impacted many lives, but with your mission to build capabilities, bench strength, and other professionals to look at diabetes and help patients solve it, I think you will be able to make a bigger impact. My last question. Policy in India can create a positive revolution. Policy makers can be enablers of change, can be catalysts for transformation. Now tell us, especially when it comes to healthcare, what are the one or two things that the policymakers can do to be able to support your mission, to kind of collaborate with you, so on and so forth?
There are many things that can be done. If you look at the past, what has been done, for example, the taxation on tobacco and alcohol. Smoking became so costly that many people dropped out just because of that. So one bad habit goes away just because people can't afford it. Now, in India, what happens is, especially at election time, and many states are going for election, what people promise is free television, okay? Or they promise them free rice or free wheat. Now, think about it. If somebody is given a television, he's going to sit all the time, and that's going to increase his diabetes, okay? Think about the free rice and the wheat which is given. That is carbohydrate. If you give that to them, again, they're going to eat and their sugar is going to go up. So I used to jokingly say that some of the diabetes is due to the elections and the freebies that are given. Now, in a lighter vein, suppose, instead of that, suppose they were giving subsidies to both farmers as well as to people to buy fruit and vegetables, for example, reduce the taxes on fruits and vegetables and make it dead cheap. Now, nobody can buy an apple. It's just too costly. Okay, go and buy an apple. It's very healthy, but I can't afford it, So can we make healthy things like fruits and vegetables so cheap that the farmer gets a lot of what they want? I know the farmers' agitation is going on. So if they get their dues, plus the public also don't spend too much on it, so what will happen is that they'll start eating the right things. They'll include, we talk about the plate principle. If you have a thali, a plate, half of that plate should have vegetables, quarter of the plate should have protein, dals, pulses, and so on, which are again expensive. So if that is given, and only quarter of the plate should be reserved for carbohydrate, that is rice or wheat. So if you follow that principle and make these cheaper, that's one policy which people can help. And for that, they should encourage farmers to do that. Then number two, they should reduce the taxation by providing subsidies on things. That is something. Number two, we need to increase physical activity. You mentioned non-communicable diseases. For most non-communicable diseases, whether it's obesity, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, even some of the mental illnesses and so on, those who exercise regularly will not get that. So can we open up many more parks, many more gyms, public places, more green places, so that the greenery increases. That will also, for climate change also, it's very good. If we grow more trees, more parks, more avenues, make the whole place more green. The whole effort goes into that, and maintain those public parks, uh, make places for people to walk. I have one instance, which I mentioned in my book. There was a colony on which we did some research, and we found that their diabetes rates were going up. So we took the experiment and told them why they had a plot of land next door to them, and they were going to build one more of their colony there, one more set of flats. So we kind of convinced the residents, instead of building another set of flats, why don't you build a playground? Oh, that's government's work. Okay, you ask the government. If they do it for you, good. They went to the government. Government said, no, right now we don't have funds. I said, why do you need the government fund? You raise money and you build the park. So for the first time, a park was built with public money, with the people themselves contributing. And because they built it with love, they really maintained the park really well. The number of exercisers in that region went up by 250%. And 10 years later, when we went and did research on them, we found that their obesity rates had begun to flatten, their diabetes rates had begun to flatten. So many changes came because of one park being built. Now, once that news spread, another park was built and another park was built. By the time the government realized, oh, this is what people want. So they built 200 parks for them. And with that, so many parks came to Chennai. And I know that in Delhi and in other areas also, there are similar examples. So these are the kind of things. If government gives a subsidy, okay, if you have a plot of ground, we'll give you a little subsidy for you to make a kind of playground for yourself, or a park for yourself, or we'll do it for you, or we'll help you to do it. Things like this. If the small things, many countries abroad have done that. The Scandinavian countries have done that. I know that free cycling is now permitted in many cities. They give you cycles. You can just rent your cycle, go and leave it somewhere else, and they'll pick it up. And they keep it very cheap. That's encouraging cycling. In Amsterdam, this is very, very popular. Everybody's cycling. Nobody's using a car. So this will all make things more climate friendly. The greenhouse gases will come down. Plus, your own physical activity is going up. Plus, it's a policy which the government is taking. So if they think forward as to what is the health of the nation today, 60% of all the deaths are due to non-communicable diseases. If you start encouraging like this, healthy eating, exercise, stress reduction, yoga, pranayama, if you just do this, you will find that 60 to 70% of all the deaths can be prevented. Especially the premature deaths can be prevented. And that is something where government policy has to come in.
Thank you so much. You're so right. You gave, where I believe creating availability creates demand. Creating an environment where people can have a positive impetus to undertake a certain lifestyle or certain food choices, then it will automatically aid their health. There are three questions. Let me take two of these. You answered both of them in some way. Vikram K is asking, how do you walk the tightrope of being a clinician and at the same time managing many projects which need to make profits in order to sustain? How do you switch between a physician hat during consultation and say an hour later being in a meeting discussing business? Will be helpful to docs who are in the same shoes.
I think if you read the book, you'll know, because in the book, all these are beautifully explained. But, I give the example of Bill Gates. Now, Bill Gates was once asked in an interview, and I watched that interview. They said, on one side, you're Microsoft, and you're, making billions out of it. On the other side, you have the Melinda and Gates Foundation, Bill Gates Foundation, and there you're giving away billions of dollars. Are you schizophrenic? Somebody asked him. On one side is your brain trying to make money, the other side trying to give it away, And in both you're ruthless. They're also trying to make money. You're also ruthlessly giving away the money only to select projects and so on. He said, I love to give. I love to give, but to give, I need to make money. And then I can give more. If I make 5 more billion there, I'll give 4 more billion off here. So that is the reason why I need to make money. And so I'm not schizophrenic. I'm doing two things activity. When you sit there and wear a hat, I sit in a free clinic and I'm doing everything free, including giving medicines free. I'll have to find what is the cheapest medicine I can give to that person, generic medicine, so that 500 people can get benefited. But when I'm sitting in a clinic, I might find a millionaire coming to me who has already 3 jet planes and something else and all that. So that man will come and tell me, you give me the best pump, you give me the best thing. So for that person also, we have to, India is a country like that, isn't it? We have the poorest of people, we have the richest of people. So you have to do all of that. And then also for each of those, if you have leaders, if you have, the way I do it is I don't do everything myself, but I find a director for that, one director for this, and then I only give them the guidelines. I'll say, okay, you're doing so many free clinics, let's double it by another 2 years. How can we do that? So then it's their job to find who will you partner with to do more charity, how to do more. At the same time, there's a business side of it. Okay, we have 50 branches today. Can you make it 75 in the next 3 years? So how do we do that? Which location do we grow? How do we do that? So then my CEO will take charge of that, and my daughter is a managing director. So they will form a team, and then they will start looking into it. So on the face of it appears very contradictory, but it's not. You're doing one activity there, you're doing another activity here. As long as you find time for it and you find the passion for it and you believe in it, I believe you can do a lot of things. And when you do, suppose I'm running my hospitals and there I don't make any profit. Now, how do I pay my staff? How do I grow? How do I do that? At the same time, the problem comes when ethical issues arise. Will you do something unnecessary to make money? No, it is not done. I tell my staff working for me, if you ever feel that whatever the top management, including me, has said is unethical, refuse. Say, I won't do it, or walk out, or resign and go away. Don't even work for us. That's the kind of thing I've given to all the people. So that ethics has been brought in so well that I'm pretty sure that none of my staff will do anything unethical. So unethically doing something is different, but ethically making money is not easy. You will agree that ethically making money is not easy. We don't give kickbacks to anyone. So we don't give kickback, we don't get that much patience. So I told them, it came to a stage when one or two places we had to close down the center. I said, close it, no problem. Nothing is lost. But still don't break your, the basic principles you don't break. I think once you set yourself, and that I think comes from a guru, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, who has taught, he used to do everything free, everything 100% is free. I can't do everything 100% free, but I'll do where it can do the free, I'll do the free. So I think like that, you can mix and match, provided you have a order in what you do, and if you have a plan to do what you do. And of course, God's grace also comes.
Absolutely. Serendipity, God blessing. And Dr. Mohan, I'm much younger than you, and I have a long way to go. But I must tell you, a lot of people ask me, so how come you do so many things you do in a day? So I tell them, I like what I do, so I keep doing them. And, I don't look at my watch, and of course, you rightly explained, you got to prioritize. And I must also say that Confucius said, you make your hobby your profession, you don't have to work. So Correct. It's something that you naturally enjoy doing. You are able to give it your best, and it is effortless. Second is, very importantly, a lot of people say, oh, I didn't call you because you must be busy. I tell them, always deal with busy people. Exactly. They are busy because they make time for people. Exactly. They make time for initiatives, exactly. Right? So they're always...
For this particular interview, you need not have come, as a chairman and editor-in-chief. You could have, could have delegated it to any one of your colleagues.
I wanted to get to know you.
Yeah, you found time for it. You found time for it. That's it.
No, somebody like you, and I thoroughly enjoy talking to authors and people who achieved it. It's something that I'm grateful for. So really, let me take another question. And there's another one from Vikram K. If you can give one advice for diabetologists and doctors who you see as an inspiration, same. And then Manoj Kumar is asking, there are many clinic institutions today that talk of complete diabetes reversal. What are your suggestions for people who are there for diabetes reversal? He says, who are back for diabetes reversal. I didn't get. So Vikram's question of other people who you look up to who are, as a diabetologist, what is your advice? And second is...
and the reversal part.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So to those who are diabetologists, the young diabetologists, what I would say is two things. Number one, treat the patient as a whole. Don't just treat the blood sugar of the patient, because the patient is much more than just blood sugar. Apart from blood pressure or cholesterol or something else, he also has a mind. He also has so many other feelings. He has so many emotions. He has so many things. So treat the person as a whole. Look at his whole body and do holistic healing. That is called real total diabetes care. And that if you do, not only you'll win the love of the patient, they'll have more trust and faith in you, but you'll be doing a better job. Rather than just prescribing, oh, insulin gone up, okay, add 4 more units of insulin, add 2 more units of insulin. That's a shortcut that people do because they're in a hurry to get the patient out and get the next one in. Don't do that. That's why I said you can do only as limited number of patients we are doing yourself, because you have to spend time with the particular patient. So spend time, be empathetic, listen to them, because they have a story to tell. They've come to you for something. They are not just coming out, taking a prescription and going. They'll throw your prescription somewhere and they'll go if you're like that. So please listen to them. You're serving humanity. You're doing a noble service. Never forget that. That's my help. That's my suggestion to them. To the reversal people, I'll say, well, the problem with these many of these reversal people, they're not even qualified. They're not even doctors. They are some accountant or some chartered accountant or some software engineer, and he has tried something on himself which worked. So he now believes he is now knows everything about medicine, and they try all kinds of shortcuts. Invariably, it will come down to restricting your calories. There's no way you can have any reversal of diabetes reversing your calories. So they do it in different ways. They'll cut off carbohydrate completely. So I said some carbohydrate. I said half, quarter of the plate should be carbohydrate. Remember my words. Half is vegetables, quarter is protein, either vegetable or non-veg protein, and quarter only is for carbohydrate. They remove that quarter also and make it everything fat. So when you give them only fat without carbohydrate, there'll be a dramatic reversal. All the body will go into ketosis, all the fat will start burning, and you will lose weight. Now the problem with this is several. Number one, it's not a balanced diet. There are many micronutrient deficiencies. So in the short term, if we look at this 3 months, your sugar has crashed, your HbA1c has crashed, your weight has crashed, and you're going around showing your photographs before, after, and and paying a lot of money to do that. So it look on the face of it, look as if everything is okay. But because you're taking 80% fat, your cholesterol goes up, your LDL goes up, your heart blocks come. And I know that micronutrient deficiencies come. I have seen deaths in some of these people. And so you have to be careful, because that's why I said holistic healing. You have to take the whole thing into account, and must also realize that you cannot reverse in everyone. Reversal is in a small percentage of people in whom, yes, if you can reverse it, it's very good. Today, the mantra has become reversal, reversal. So we are made to look as if we are the guys who only treat and give only insulin tablet. They are the guys who are doing all the reversal. So they are the good guys and we are the bad guys. It is not so. We can also reverse for some people, but we're being honest enough to say that we cannot reverse for everyone. Some of these guys claim that for everybody they can reverse, as if reversal is a big mantra that we don't know about. All our 50 years that we've been practicing, we didn't know that. Only these guys had to come and teach us that, So that is not true. So you have to also look at the whole patient. You have to look at the physiology, the biology completely, because sometimes you may do more harm than good. Okay. And if somebody is actually getting a reversal, good. I have nothing against it. In fact, we are all working towards reversal of diabetes only. But if in the process you hurt somebody, and if they have any side effect, who's responsible for it? So that is something which you will have to keep in mind. And also remember that whatever you do should be sustainable. It's not for 3 months that you're in diabetes, for life. And therefore, if you're able to reverse the diabetes for the next 25 years, then I agree. I've never seen anyone do that. For 3 months, 6 months. Then they'll say, now I stopped all that. I could not continue it. This is the usual story. They won't go back to them. So these people are doing it, don't know, but they come to us. And so we see, you tried all that, didn't work. Doesn't matter. We'll get back to the usual treatment that we do. So that's the only thing about this reversal thing. While it's good, you should not overdo it.
Okay, thank you so much. Cynthia Prabhu asked you the same question. How do you balance your time and energy between your patient, research, writing, and personal life? What is the source of your never-ending energy?
I think partly it's belief in God and some, divine thing which comes, help because of prayer. I pray a lot. So it's partly due to that. You mentioned it earlier, that once you have passion, and the book has at least a couple of chapters on passion. And so what I say is that if you have a tiring day, you come back, you're so tired, 10:30, 11, you just want to hit the bed. And then something, which will keep you going for the next 2 hours, all your energy comes back. That's your real passion. And if you can find that passion, then there's limitless energy that you have, and you will never get tired, because that passion is inbuilt in you. And that's exactly, you said it before I could say it, saying that if you follow your passion and if you do what you like, then it's not a chore anymore. You're not doing it to please somebody. In fact, somebody who read the book already wrote back to me and said, in the beginning chapter, you said you wanted to be an author, and because your father asked you to take up medicine, you took up medicine. And in chapter 9, you're saying that parents should not force their children to do what they like, but the children should do what they like. So is this a contradiction of what you said? I said, no. When my father asked me to, to take up medicine, I also insisted that I'll be a writer in medicine. And that's what I did. I've written 1,350 research papers, a world record, supposed to be a Guinness Book of Record for a practicing doctor. So I didn't give up my writing part. It's just I didn't write general books. Now I've got a time. I've written spiritual books, by the way. And now I've started writing these books. This may not be the last. I want to write more. So at the end of my career, I've come back to it. And all my life, I've been writing, except that I did medicine. And I found that medicine as a good way to write. So I don't think I still regret giving up what my father needed help at that time. And so he was a doctor. He was the first diabetologist of India. He needed help. I was his eldest son. So I joined him and did it. And I've had no regrets. I've had a very successful medical career as well. In the second chapter 9, what I said was, if your child doesn't want it, now suppose my grandson now, he's not very much interested in medicine. If I tell him, no, your great grandfather was a doctor, your father, your grandfather, that's me, was a doctor, my daughter's a doctor, my mother is a doctor, so you have to be a doctor. If I make him like that, he'll be a flop in life because he's going to take something which he probably doesn't like. So just because we all did it, we should not. He might have a completely different field in which he may become world class, Lakshman, VVS Lakshman, who's written some of the review for this book. He wanted, his father and mother were doctors. I know both of them. And they initially said, why don't you do medicine? And he said, I'll try cricket. If I succeed in that, I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll come back and do medicine. So even after he became a cricketer, he had thoughts, shall I take medicine or not? But then, of course, his cricket became so big for him that he didn't need to do doctoring. But he didn't regret it because cricket was his first love. And he stuck to it and he made himself world famous in that particular thing. So suppose his father and mother had forced him, no. We are both doctors. You don't become a cricketer. What are you going to do? VVS Lakshman, big cricketer. Okay, you become a doctor. He would have been a mediocre doctor, rotting away somewhere in Hyderabad. Instead of that, he became a world famous cricketer who set so many records. So I think people have to follow their own passion. Then they will shine in whatever they have to shine. So that's my advice.
Thank you so much. We can keep asking. Suresh is thanking you. Cynthia is thanking you. Nagendra is thanking you. So thank you so much. I think you're able to ignite the passion. I hope to see this conversation again. And I hope to do another conversation with you once I've read the book fully and hopefully face to face. Things are better. You're meeting people physically, either in Chennai or any part of the country. Congratulations to you on the book.
Thank you
Dr. V. Mohan. This was Dr. V. Mohan. He's a diabetologist. He's the chairman of the Dr. Mohan's Diabetics Special Hospital Clinic, and he's written this book, Making Excellence a Habit. So clearly, how to build a healthcare practice which is world class, built on integrity, ethics, and is scalable. So do read this book. It has life lessons. It has advice for you, and it could help you in what you do. Thank you, Dr. Mohan, for talking to us.
Sure.
We look forward to more conversations with you soon enough. For news about healthcare industry, healthcare business, keep logging on to bwhealthcareworld.com. And for news on business and economy, log on to businessworld.in. So thank you so much. God bless you. Good evening, Dr. Mohan. Look forward to seeing you in physical.
Thank you to all the viewers. Bye-bye.